Sri Bhagavad Leela, chapter 69, Narada Muni visits Lord Krishna's palaces in Dvaraka. In this chapter, Narada fulfills his desire to see how Krishna expanded his one transcendental form into each of the 16,108 palaces in Dvaraka. It was indeed astonishing how Krishna married with one body at one time each of the 16,000 queens in separate courtyards of separate houses surrounded by separate walls. Persons like Sobari Muni enjoyed with many women, actually 50, at once, only after expanding into separate bodies, but not in a single body. For this reason, Narada went to see Krishna in Dvaraka, which is described in 3.5 verses between 1 and 6. The city of Dvaraka resounded with the loud cries of swans and herons in lakes filled with lotus flowers. The palace turrets and spires were glistening with emeralds. The palace attendants wore splendid clothing of gold and jewels. The city of Dvaraka was charming with wide roads, lanes, intersections, marketplaces, assembly halls, and temples. It was shaded by many colorful flags flapping in the wind. Dvaraka was beautified with thousands of ornately decorated palaces, and Narada entered one of the queen's palaces. The palace had coral pillars supporting roofs of lapis lazuli. The walls were embedded with sapphires, and the floors of the palace were inlaid with so many sapphires that they always sparkled with radiance. Seeing the smoke of aguru incense streaming through the lattice windows of the palace, the peacocks mistook it for clouds. When Narada arrived, Krishna arose from his seat and sat Narada on his own seat and began to worship him. Krishna, the master of the devotees, bathed Narada's feet and then addressed him. Someone might say, it's not proper for God or Krishna to wash the feet of his servant. But Krishna is glorified with the phrase Brahmanya Deva, Namo Brahmanya Deva, indicating his quality of being respectful to the Brahmanas. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahman Hitaya Cha Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Nama. Thus, since Narada is a Brahmin, it is appropriate that Bhagavan Sri Krishna bathed his feet. It should not be said that Krishna behaved like this to purify himself, since the Ganga, which is the ultimate purifying place, bathes Krishna's feet. Even though Narada is Krishna's servant, it should be understood that he did not reveal Krishna's superiority in order not to obstruct the Lord's desire to serve the Brahmanas. Krishna happily worshipped his pure devotee Narada Muni, according to the Vedic injunction that Kshatriyas must honor the Brahmanas. Krishna is described in verse 16 as Rishi Purana, the oldest supreme spiritual master. Although Krishna is indeed the oldest because of his being the personality of Godhead, he is also new as he comes as Narayan, the friend of Nara, in order to broadcast the scriptural injunctions, Narayan Rishi. Krishna spoke with measured words saturated with the sweetest nectar, and he said to Narada, O Narada, O Prabhu, you are our master, because you are a learned Pandit. What can I do for you? Narada said, in the material world, if the object of worship worships the worshipper, it will not be beneficial for the worshipper. However, because you are independent, my Lord, it is always beneficial whether you worship your devotee, accept his worship, or punish him. It is not at all amazing that you are the benefactor of all people, my Lord, because you are the monarch of all the worlds, and because all living entities are in the status of dependent jivas, they must factually be your servants. And Vishnu Chakravarti, in his purport to text 17, describes the meaning of the word Om. The letter A, A-U-M, Om, signifies Lord Vishnu. The letter U, Au, signifies the goddess Shri. And the letter M, Au, refers to the devotee or the servant of Lakshmi Narayan, who is the 25th element. Narada continued glorifying Lord Dwarkadish. For Brahmanas like me, who constantly worship you, my Lord, with devotion, your worshipping us gives displeasure. For others who serve you like Vidur and Uddhav, you distress their minds by refusing to accept their worship. For the ordinary people who are like animals within the cycle of material life and who never worship you, you bestow your merciful glance, and you punish the envious like Jarasandh. Ultimately, you benefit all these persons by your appearance in the material world. I know that you bestow the highest benefit upon everyone by maintaining and protecting the universe and by giving them prema bhakti and liberation. Anticipating that Krishna may say, "Oh, great sage Narad, for what purpose have you come to Dwarka? Do you intend to stay here or go elsewhere?" Anticipating this, Narada says, "My Lord, now I have seen your lotus feet, which grant liberation to your devotees, which even Brahma and other great personalities of unfathomable intelligence can only meditate upon within their hearts, and which those who have fallen to the well of material existence resort to for deliverance. O my Lord, please favor me, so that I may constantly think of you as I travel about. Please grant me the power to remember you." Dayam Sharam Yanugrahana Yata Smriti Syat. Narada then entered the palace of another of Lord Krishna's wives, eager to witness the spiritual potency possessed by the Yogeshwara, the master of all masters of mystic power. With a desire to perceive Krishna's Yogamaya, Narada went to another queen's palace. There, at Satyabhama's palace, Narada saw Krishna playing dice. Krishna spoke to Narada, who was standing silently in great astonishment. In all the palaces Narada visited, Krishna worshipped and honored him. Narada saw Krishna playing with his infant sons. And for the next 14 verses, it describes what Narada observed as he went from palace to palace. As Narada saw numerous manifestations with various moods and activities of Krishna's one body, similarly, he also saw numerous manifestations of the single bodies of Uddhava and others. Narada, who went at the speed of mind in a single moment to each of the 16,000 palaces, saw Krishna performing different activities at different times. In other words, within a single moment, the time span of 60 gatikas, means 60 24-minute periods, which comprise and which make up an entire day, entered, manifesting in various locations the various phases of dawn and so on, and the corresponding activities of these times. Thus Narada understood that at all times of the whole day and all the different activities were occurring simultaneously. All the different times of the day were occurring simultaneously in Krishna's palaces. Thus in one palace, Narada saw Krishna offering oblations into the sacrificial fires, Vitana Agni, which is a morning ritual. In another palace, Krishna was performing the 5 Panchayagyas, Mahayagyas, or great sacrifices compulsory for a householder. So someone as a grihasta, there are 5 yagyas or sacrifices that he is supposed to observe every single day to overcome and counteract the 5 imperceptible sinful activities incurred in grihasta life. So those 5 activities are reciting the Vedas, Shastra Swadhyaya, or Shastra. Offering oblations into the sacrificial fire, means offering homa, or yagya. But for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the yagya, and for everyone, for Kali Yuga, is Nam Yagya. So grihastas, and everyone for that matter, should regularly gather in their temple room, husband, wife, children, and perform at least 10 minutes Harinam Sankirtan every day. So this reading the Shastras, reciting Nasta Priyeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, hearing and reading and chanting Srimad Bhagavatam every day, performing Nam Sankirtan, then waiting on guests. One should serve the guests every day, Atiti Seva, making offerings to the forefathers, and offering a share of one's food to living entities in general. In that palace it was noon, and another palace, Narada saw Krishna feeding the brahmanas and accepting their remnants, which is an afternoon activity. Elsewhere, Krishna was performing the sunset rites, Sandhyam Upasinam. Another palace, it was dawn, and Krishna was moving about with his sword and shield, practicing his Kshatriya arts. Another palace, Krishna was riding on horses and elephants, which is a noon activity. And another place, he was lying down, which is an activity of later part of the night. Krishna met with Uddhava and his counselors around dusk and enjoyed water sports in the afternoon. Giving cows in charity is in the morning. And he was hearing the itihasas in the 7th part of the day. Afternoon, evening, he was hearing the histories and the Puranas. Somewhere in a palace, Krishna was engaging in joking conversations with his wife, which are nighttime activities. And he was performing religious rituals, economic development, and enjoying with his family, which are day and night. And somewhere he was meditating, and these are the activities of Brahma Muhurta, the early hours before sunrise. In one palace, Krishna was planning battles in consultation with his advisors. Another palace, he was making peace. Narada saw Krishna getting his sons and daughters married to suitable brides and bridegrooms at an appropriate time, using many opulent materials. At the end of the yearly festivals, Krishna sent his daughters and their husbands from his home back to their own houses. At the beginning of the festivals, he brought them from their houses. Seeing this, people were astonished. Sometimes Krishna would worship the demigods during Chaitra, springtime, Chaturmasya, and other auspicious months or holy days. At other times, such as commemorating the beginning of a yuga, such as Akshaya Tritiya, which marks the start of Treta Yuga, Krishna would perform works of public piety, such as digging wells and drinking water. Another palace, Krishna was on a hunting expedition, mounted on his Sindhi horse, his Saindavam Yanantam. Krishna had a Sindhi horse, a horse from Sindh province, and accompanied by the most heroic of Yadus, Krishna was killing sacrificial animals for the service of the Brahmanas. And in some palaces, Krishna was disguising himself in another dress and visiting the homes of his ministers in his own inner chambers in order to know the mentalities of the people there. Though Krishna is all-knowing, being immersed in prema, he covered his knowledge potency, the Sarvagyatva Shakti, with his pastime potency, Lila Shakti, in order to act like this, disguise himself as a spy and move around the city to understand what people thought of him. Narada fully understood Krishna's omniscience, so when he saw Krishna trying to detect the mood of his ministers by moving about in disguise, Narada could not help but laugh. But remembering Krishna's majesty, he somehow restrained his laughter. Yogamaya arose so Krishna could absorb himself in his own human-like pastimes. And this was astonishing to Narada. Naradaji said in text 38, O Master of mystic power, by serving your lotus feet, may we know the mystic potencies present within you. Krishna replied, But Narad, why should such all-knowing persons as you have any lack of knowledge? Narad, even mystic yogis like Shiva and Brahma cannot see your mystic powers. What then to speak of understanding them, and what to speak of their acting within them? Seeing your astonishing pastimes, my Lord, I cannot maintain my steadiness. Therefore, please permit me to leave, so I can tell this to my dear friends in various places of the universe. Although I am your devoted servant, I have experienced great sorrow in your presence, because with your lotus hands you have washed my unfortunate feet, hardened by traveling. In response, Krishna speaks, verse 40. I observe religious principles to instruct the world. After all, I am a householder, Kshatriya, and you are a Brahmin. If I did not worship you when you came to my house, then how can the Dharma preached by me through proper conduct be established? As I state in the Bhagavad Gita, Yadyat acharati shreshtas, tat tad evetarojana. Whatever a great person does, ordinary people follow. Thus I bathe your feet today, Narada, to propagate the principles of religion in this world. Before I begin my pastimes of directly teaching religious principles, you came and offered prayers to me after I had killed the Keshi demon. At that time, I simply listened to your elaborate glorification, but did nothing to honor you. Just remember this and consider. Narada replied, That may be, but in washing my feet, I have committed an offense in letting you drink the water that touched my feet. Krishna then pacified Narada with affectionate words. O son, do not think that you have committed an offense by allowing me to bathe your feet today and accept that Charnamrita as holy remnants. Just as a son does not offend his father by touching him with his foot while sitting on the father's lap, so you should understand that in the same way you have not offended me. All of the activities that Krishna performed in the many palaces were performed by Krishna's single spiritual form, Ekena Vapusha, which manifested in each of the 16,000 palaces. This vision was revealed to Narada because of his desire to see it and Krishna's desire to show it to him. The other Dwarkavasis could see Krishna only in the particular part of the city they themselves occupied, and not anywhere else, even if they would sometimes go to another precinct on some business. Thus the Lord gave a special view of his pastimes to his beloved Narada Muni. Having repeatedly seen the vast mystic display of Krishna, whose power is unlimited, the sage Narada was amazed and filled with wonder. Narada was worshipped with devotion by Krishna, whose mind was filled with faith in economic development, sense gratification, religious duties. Someone may object, but why Krishna has any faith in economic development and sense gratification, art and calm? And why does Krishna imitate the ways of human beings? The answer: Krishna's human-like activities are meant for the welfare of all people. By remembering Krishna's pastimes, people become free from the cycle of material existence, samsara. But why should Krishna care to stop their material existence? Answer: because Krishna is endowed with mercy, Kripa Shakti, Anugrahita Shakti. But this is not the only purpose of Krishna's permanently engaging in human activities. Krishna engages in blissful pastimes with his beloved human consorts, who comprise his internal energy and are superior even to Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Or else Krishna performs these activities to eternally enjoy with his unalloyed devotees who worship his human form, the original source of all Vishnu forms in Vaikuntha. Krishna's human-like pastimes are not meant only to liberate mankind from the material world, but also to bestow prema bhakti upon one and all. Krishna causes the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe. Krishna performed activities in Dvaraka that were unusual even for his plenary expansions, to say nothing of others. Krishna performed these activities for the sake of his pure, exclusive devotees. In any case, anyone who recites or hears Krishna's pastimes will attain prema bhakti for the Lord. Devotion for Krishna is obtainable for those on the path of liberation, apavarg, moksha marg, or devotional service. Actually, liberation from material existence occurs even at the beginning of devotional service. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.